Hello. God bless you all on this summer that is still holding on, but gradually coming to an end. This first reading from the book of Sirach, book of wisdom. My child, conduct yourselves with humility, and you will be loved more than a giver of gifts. Humble yourself, the greater you are. He's touting the virtue of humility. The word humility comes from the Latin word hummus, but that's not H-U-M-M-U-S, the Middle Eastern food, but rather H-U-M-U-S, which means, from my Latin dictionary, the ground, the earth, the soil. Okay, so humility means standing firmly on the ground, realizing what you came from, what we are all about, and not raising our heads way up into the clouds. In the gospel reading, Luke chapter 14, verse 1, and then 7 to 14. Here's a person here he's referring to, who goes into these meetings trying to make himself out more than he really is. He's in it for what he can get out of it. He's trying to get status. And then Jesus is saying, if you're really interested in status, you will be a humble person, because then you will be raised up, because people will recognize your humility, and that is a great gift, and they will lift you up. Go then and take the lowest place, so that when the host comes to you, he may say, my friend, move up to a higher position. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and the one who humbles himself will be exalted. God is the giver of the status that matters. And we really should depend upon God, not ourselves. And ask the Holy Spirit, give us that holiness that really is what matters, what really is the real treasure. And everything else will follow that's good. In Matthew's Beatitudes, chapter 5, verse 5, or rather chapter 5, verse 5. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the land. Blessed are the humble, for they will inherit the land. There's an interplay of the two words. Okay. And the land is very valuable. Among the Jews, they recognize the great value of land. But this land he's referring us to is the land that is in heaven, that God will give us. Then there's the second sort of parable that Jesus speaks to us. When you hold a lunch or dinner, do not invite your friends or brothers, your relatives, or your wealthy neighbors, in case they may invite you back and you have repayment. So he's saying here, have other motivation than getting out of things what you could possibly get out for yourself. Referring to now back to Luke, chapter 6, starting with verse 27. And if you do good, this is, verse 33. chapter 6 of Luke, verse 33. If you do good to those who do good to you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners do the same. If you lend money to those from whom you expect repayment, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners and get back the same amount. But rather love your enemies and do good to them and lend expecting nothing back. Then your reward will be great and you will be children of the Most High. For he himself is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. So again, it's not having that spirit of whatever I do so that I can get out of it the most for myself. Have the divine motivation, the higher motivation, the motivation out of which God operates, so that he can bring good to others. And that if you get no repayment, fine. But we live our lives in the Lord. And that's the repayment. That we become holy people. We become people who have something far above anything that this earth can possibly give us. And then toward the end of the gospel reading, blessed indeed will you be because of their inability to repay you, for you will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous. Look for repayment from God. Look for pleasing God and being loved even more by God. That's the repayment we need to look for. In other words, our motivation should be holiness. And then we have the treasure that truly is treasure for all of eternity. In the second reading, from Hebrews, first of all, the first one is a negative thing. The God you have, basically, is what he's saying, is not a haughty God, but isolating himself from our lowliness. But rather, our God invites us to share his goodness and his glory. Look at how generous our God is. He's not a God who lords it over us. Not a God who's in it for whatever he can get out of it, but in it for whatever he can give us, so that he can give us his love, his holiness, and we gain. We rise up, and we one day share in his glory. It's not all for himself, but what he can give, what he can share with us. May the Lord be praised in every way.